Hey there, fellow big backs. My name is Jeremy Lewis Rivera. I'm a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, and coach. Also a wannabe bodybuilder. I say wannabe because I technically haven't got on stage yet. That's awkward. So if you guys want to follow, like, and subscribe to follow that journey with me, then that'd be greatly appreciated. But the reason for today's video is because I'm going to go over everything that I did on my recent cut that gave me these insane results. So I started this cut just around March 24th, and then I ended the cut around June 20th. So it was just over about 12 and a half weeks. And in that time, I went from about 18.5% body fat all the way down to 11.5%. So just about 11%. And in that time, as you can see from the DEXA scan, it says that looks like I gained about 4 pounds of lean tissue as well. So I started this cut after just a 7-month bulk where I also went from 166 to just under the 182 pounds that we started this cut at. That bulk took me about 7 months. That bulk didn't really go as planned, honestly. I didn't gain as much muscle as I thought I was. But at the same time, DEXA scans can just be off. And, I went from about 14.9% body fat to about 18.5% through that bulk. So I was just a little bit high and, was like, it's time to cut it down, right? You get to that point in a bulk where you're ready to cut. And after 7 months of bulking, I was ready for that. And so we went into that cut, and the last cut did not go as well. This last cut went really well, but that previous cut before this bulk didn't go as well as I wanted to. During that cut, I had lost quite a few pounds of muscle mass that I was not looking to lose, obviously. No one really is. But this cut obviously went a lot better. So I'm going to go through everything that I did differently on this cut versus my last cut, or really just tell you guys everything that I did during this cut to get such amazing results, because it was a big difference from my previous cuts. My previous cut was a lot harder, longer as well. It was 16 weeks, and I was starving during it. I was not eating as many calories, and was working a lot harder than I was during this cut, and I got much better results. So I want to pass this knowledge and information along to as many people as I can, other than just my clients that I'm able to work with. So if you guys do please like, follow, and subscribe for more content. I will be posting more and giving more advice in the future. And follow me on Instagram too, where I post there some advice and stuff as well. And if you want, you can DM me there for coaching as well. So with that being said, the first thing I obviously did during this calorie deficit, or during this cut, was eat in a calorie deficit. I just said it, right? So we obviously had to eat in a calorie deficit. However, the difference between my first cut and this cut that I did, my first cut, I was eating around 1,700 calories or so. And I found that was incredibly hard to maintain. Barely able to eat about 3 meals of just about 500 calories each, maybe 550 or so, before I'm already at my calorie limit for the day. And when you weigh about 180 pounds, 180 grams of that going to protein, you're not left with many carbs or fats left for the day. So that was a very tough cut, and it showed, right? And I think the mistake that I made on that cut was actually not trying to get my metabolism high and get a good metabolism first before starting that cut. But, the thing is it is what it is, right? During this cut versus my last cut and every cut I've done before this, I always would cut carbs, right? Because that's just kind of what the media tells us and has trained us and for a long time, right? And it was just the easiest way to find things to cut, and I noticed that when I would cut carbs, I wouldn't feel I noticed, right? But not really. So I would feel less bloated and all that stuff, but all that stuff was really just in my head, right? So during this cut, actually, I decided to focus more on cutting fats and reducing those and keeping carbs in my diet. And I found that I was able to have better performance in the gym. I wasn't nearly as low energy. Cutting fats, obviously, you don't want to go below a certain percentage, just below about 20% or so. You don't want to be below that, really. So try to take that in consideration. Try cutting fats before you start cutting carbs. I was able to eat a lot more pastas, rice, have some breads, and some sweet treats here and there, so that I wasn't suffering so much on this diet as well. One of the biggest things I was eating all the time was French toast, and that has a lot of carbs in it, but with right substitutions, you can make it good and not that bad, right? But and along with that calorie deficit, that brings me to my next point with those calories and those fats and everything, was I did not cut my calories below 2,000. So I wanted to set a baseline, and I found that setting my calories just around, so I started my cut at 2,200 calories or so. 21 to 2,200 calories is what I had tried to plan to eat the entire time, right? And that's pretty much what I ended up doing. And I never wanted to go below 2,000 calories, so that's why I set it to that. My metabolism, after my bulk, I was bulking at around just under 3,000 calories, gaining about less than a quarter pound a week or so. I think I was gaining like 0.16 pound a week. And, so pretty slow, gradual bulk. And the cut had a much higher metabolism than that last cut, right? So I was able to eat about 2,100 calories, and that's why I set my baseline there, because that baseline allowed me to feel like I was eating enough food while still being in the deficit, right? And so with that, I was able to maintain and keep it going a lot longer. There were a lot of days where I felt perfectly fine with just the 2,200 calories, even though my metabolism would say I'm basically in a 600 to 700 calorie deficit, right? That's normally pretty aggressive, but I found that baseline had worked for me, and I never wanted to go below 2,000, because I felt also when I would go below 2,000 calories is when I would start to notice a decrease in strength quite drastically at the gym. One last thing about diet, actually, number 8 would be learning how to diet properly. And this was a huge one for me, guys, was learning how to diet properly. Mostly came down to cooking your foods at home and just saying screw going out to eat, because you would always end up going either over your fats or over your carbs, and some part of your macros would be compromised, okay? And whatever I wanted, and first of all, fast food is expensive, all right? Whatever I wanted to eat out at fast food, I could make it home for like 1/3 of the price. I'd usually get twice as much food for the same amount of calories, but I could also adjust it to my macros and what I needed to do, So take that into consideration. Really take the time and effort to learn how to cook. It's really not that hard, and it doesn't take that much time, because you really only need to figure out about like 10 recipes or so, and then you can just kind of keep rotating between them. And they're really easy to make. Like when it comes to like French toast, all right, I'll give you guys a quick one. All you got to do is just substitute the eggs that you would dip your bread in, substitute it for egg white, and use spray butter and sugar-free syrup, and bam, like there, it's that simple. And then now the whole thing is like 2 grams of fat and like 60 grams of carbs and 40 grams of protein if you use all the egg yolk and pour it on there real good. So it's like, just simple things like that. And learning how to eat fruit and vegetables to really and cook with them so that you can have really high volume in your foods, guys. Just take the time to look up the recipes, like on your lunch breaks or at whatnot at work. You can't expect change if you're not willing to change anything about yourself, and the way how we eat is going to be the most important. So, and learning how to diet properly is going to be the number one thing that keeps you guys healthy and keeps us on track for the goals that we have, okay? Now, going on to that, I did do some cardio. That was the next one, is that we did do some cardio, and I started with around 8,000 steps a week is what I would start with at this diet, and every week I would just try to increase it, depending on how much weight I was losing. Pretty much just by 1,000 steps. If I noticed I would plateau a week and I was staying like stagnant, which would happen, and we'll talk about that in a second, if I found that I was plateauing, or I would just increase it by like 1,000 steps every day, and usually by the next week I'd begin to drop down again. So pretty simple stuff, guys. And when it would come to cardio on the treadmill, I would just start with 30 minutes just walking a normal incline of about the 10%. If I could feel like the 15%, I would do it, but I've got knee and hip problems that start to ache after a certain amount of time, like doing things like that. So I'll try to keep it like around 10 so that I can just go consistently the entire time without hurting myself. And with that being said, guys, about those plateaus, that's the next thing that this comes into is patience. Another thing that I really did well on this diet was be patient. I wouldn't take drastic measures, and when I would have like a week of plateauing, I wouldn't then next week cut my calories super drastically and, you know, go from 2,200 now to 1,400 calories, or not 14, but like 1,800 calories or something, right? That's a big mistake that a lot of people think is you should be cutting the calories before you try to increase your activity. And I think that's a completely wrong approach that we've preached in the fitness industry for a long time, is just cut more calories. Like, why not increase the activity level just a little bit and get your metabolism faster so that when you're off the diet as well, you can go back to eating more food safely as well. With that being said, let's go ahead and get on to the training, because I know that's the good stuff and that's really what everyone wants to hear. And when it comes to the training, I decided that I really wanted to make sure I focused on intensity and recovery. So I made sure to find a volume that I could recover from, and I wanted to train as intensely as I could. So I actually pretty much took a Sam Sulek approach to it, and I would do pretty much 8 to 12 working sets for every single exercise every week. And so pretty much break it down to about 2 sets per exercise. I'd usually do about 2 exercises for each part. And those 2 sets, though, were always taken to failure and beyond, either with drop sets or myo sets, rest pause sets. I was always, once I couldn't move the weight, either drop it or wait 10 seconds and then go for a few more reps, going until my chest could not go anymore, or my arm could not move that weight. As soon as I couldn't budge it an inch, that's how I knew it was good. And I could feel the difference in the fatigue, right? So doing that 8 to 12 sets, I found was a big game changer for me. And obviously from the DEXA scan, it seems to be, because it looks like I put on like 4.5 pounds of lean mass, as opposed to, you know, a cut when you usually lose mass, right? Whether or not that's completely accurate, who knows, right? But I feel way more jacked, and I feel like way better on this cut than I did on my previous cuts. And so that low volume with the really high intensity is what I believe allowed my muscles and my those receptors to believe that we needed to either build or maintain any lean mass that we could. I pretty much went up in lean mass in every single department except for maybe my calves, I think it was. With that, I did a 5-day split, which was a push, pull, legs, and then an upper lower split. The lower body day and the leg day were pretty much the same thing, honestly. They were, I didn't really change them up ever. Trained those 5 days a week, and, you know, did the exercises that I did. I will break down my entire training in a different video, so make sure you guys like and subscribe for that, so that you guys can get that full training breakdown for everything that I did during this cut, okay? And another thing that I feel like is super underrated that not a lot of people talk about is the having a strong mind-muscle connection and understanding of biomechanics. When you guys are, like, for an example, when I flex my arm or when I flex my bicep, my hand naturally swings up because that's the bicep actually pulling my hand up. There's a lot of like people, when we do exercises, our goal is just to move the weight, whether that's with a curl or with a bench. And I made this mistake for a long time, especially when it came to bench press, was not actually utilizing the muscle that we're trying to target and not understanding how to actually feel that muscle. So that's one thing I really made sure to focus on, was that I was actually using and squeezing my muscles through every single rep and set that I did during this cut. Really working hard on that mind-muscle connection was something that I really felt is really taking my physique to the next level and can take everyone's physique to the next level. I think that's honestly one of the biggest difference makers between someone who is a natural born bodybuilder and someone who has to work really hard at it, is how natural is that mind-muscle connection. And that's why some people will see super great, fantastic results really quickly, and others will take years and years because they haven't been taught that properly, or they simply don't understand that mind-muscle connection and how important it is. But it really is, guys, that difference maker, because you can just be using your shoulders and triceps for your chest press for 10 years like I did, all right? Now, one of the last things, but definitely probably the most important thing, honestly, that I really focused on this cut versus my previous cuts my whole life was optimal sleep. I used to be one of those guys, as you guys can probably tell, I'm a pretty high energy kind of guy, right? So I've been very high energy my whole life, able to operate on very little sleep, like 4 hours, like for school, like my whole life, like, so I've just always neglected my sleep, and it makes a gigantic difference in your recovery. It can't be understated. Sleep really is the hack when it comes to the secret to building muscle growth. It's the most natural steroid out there, is getting the best sleep and sleep quality that you guys can. So really focus on that. Try and getting 8 hours of good quality sleep every single night. And if you guys can't, you got to get it just as much sleep as you can, and optimize your training around how much sleep you can get as well. After optimal sleep, guys, this is probably going to be the most important thing. It's allowing yourself to fall off and know that it's okay to fall. When you fall off of the horse and horseback riding and you're trying to learn, you just get back up and you do it again, right? If you have a bad day on your diet and you can't resist the Olive Garden breadsticks, it's okay. Just get back on it the next day, and just look at that extra energy as a refuel. Obviously you can't be doing this every single day, because you got to be consistent and have an overall deficit, but having those small moments of like you fell off, just get back on the horse. You know what I mean? Just put it behind you. You're back on your diet immediately right after dinner, and you just got to switch that mindset. Like, that was a great meal, I had fun, now we're back on, and that's it. All right. And that's really a super important thing, because it's so easy for, as soon as we fall off, we just beat ourselves up and say that the whole diet is wasted, when that is absolutely not true. All right. So just get back on the horse and keep doing what you're doing. And guys, the final hack that I have for you is that you have to learn to love the process. I was able to find a routine and a training style that brought back my love of bodybuilding for me, and that allowed me to excel this last year. You have to find a routine and exercises that you look forward to doing, that excites you, that you want to get better at. You do not have to look like X, Y, and Z. You do not have to do what they are doing to get a great physique and have a great body. Find the things that you want to do that target that muscle group, and go after it. Just do your best and push beyond failure and give it everything you have, guys. Find that thing that makes you fall in love with it again. I see a lot of negativity when it comes to weightlifting. People see it as punishment, and that is absolutely one of the biggest downfalls for anybody trying to build a great physique, is having that kind of mindset. Learn to love the process. Learn to realize that everything that you're doing, the diet, the steps, the weightlifting, the sleep, all of it is adding to that goal, and really want that goal. All right. Hope you guys have a great day. If you guys want to follow my journey to my first show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you guys have any questions or want to DM me for coaching, follow me on Instagram, and the link's in the description, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.